Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Wednesday, November 25th, 2020. It's Thanksgiving Eve. Today's show, I'm going to preview the first 2 days of college basketball. So that should be fun. College football, we will preview the 2 games tomorrow as well as the 3 games in the NFL for tomorrow since Thanksgiving. Obviously, no podcast. So the first 5 games of the Turkey 20 will be revealed to you today on the show. NBA free agency update. We'll preview tomorrow night's episode of The Masked Singer and my best bet of the day. We'll start in college basketball. It is very exciting to have college basketball back in our lives after the NCAA tournament last year got canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic, and it was just really sad. There's been at least, I want to say, like 16 or 17 games that were supposed to be today that got canceled or postponed due to COVID, but we still got a ton of games today. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm going to go over today's slate, and then I'm going to go over the lines for the games. I didn't do totals. I just did lines for today, and then I'm going to make a pick. And if the number that I have is close or it's the same number as Vegas has, then I'll do a gut feel on the total. So it's going to be very, 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 very fun. All right, first up, 11 o'clock, East Tennessee State and Abilene Christian. Abilene Christian is a 4-point favorite over East Tennessee State. I project Abilene Christian by 2, so I have to take East Tennessee State plus the 4. That's at 11 o'clock. At 12 o'clock, you got McNeese against Nebraska. You have a bunch of games at 12 o'clock. We're going to go in the order that's on Sugar House. Actually, no, we'll go in the order that's on ESPN. Never mind, not the Sugar House order. McNeese, Nebraska. Nebraska's favored by 14.5 against McNeese. I have Nebraska by 17, so I'm going to lay the 14.5 with Nebraska. CBS Sports Network, George Washington against Navy. Navy's a 2-point favorite over George Washington. I project Navy by 8. I'm going to lay the points with Navy. Mount St. Mary's against Morgan State. I have Mount St. Mary's by 9. Mount St. Mary's is only favored by half, so I'm going to lay the half point with Mount St. Mary's. Oakland and Xavier. Xavier's favored by 17.5. I have Xavier by 28.5, so I'm going to lay the 17.5 with Xavier. So a lot of favorites early on. Now on to the 1 o'clock window. You got North Dakota at Miami of Ohio. Oh, wait, we missed one. Radford, Virginia Tech at 12 o'clock. Virginia Tech's favored by 19.5. I make it 16. And I'm going to take the underdog here in Radford to cover. 1 o'clock, North Dakota and Miami of Ohio. I project this game to be a pick'em, and Miami of Ohio is favored by 6, so I'm going to take North Dakota plus the points. Next up, actually, no, 2 other games in the 1 o'clock window. Keene State, New Hampshire, Florida, National, Georgia Southern. And then a couple in the 11 o'clock window that I skipped because they're against non-Division I opponents. Florida College against South Florida, and in Limestone against James Madison. Next up is Stony Brook against Bryant. I project Stony Brook as a 15-point favorite, and Bryant's favored by 2, so I'm going to take Stony Brook plus the 2 points against Bryant. North Georgia, Mercer, Prairie View, and Little Rock. I project Little Rock to be favored by 18, and they're favored by 11.5, so I'm going to lay the 11.5 with Little Rock. Drexel Penn State was postponed due to COVID. Towson, Virginia at 1:30. Virginia's favored in the game by 19. I project Virginia in this game by 19. So my first correct line. The total's 122. At gunpoint, this is hard. Normally Virginia, traditionally a low-scoring team. I'm going to say over 122. The juice is on the under minus 112, so I'll take over 122 at minus 108. That was the first time I had to go to a total on the podcast, and it took only till 1:30 to do so. 2 o'clock, North Carolina A&T against Illinois. Illinois is favored by 27.5. I'd make Illinois by 27. So there's another close call. So I have to go to the total, 146. I'll go the over 146. I think this is a shootout. Juice is on the over, though, at minus 113. Next up, and now we're in the 2 o'clock window, by the way. Illinois State, Ohio State. This game's on ESPN. Ohio State's 23rd in the country. Illinois is 8. Virginia's 4. And those are the first couple games featuring ranked teams. Ohio State against Illinois State. Ohio State's an 18-point favorite. I project the Buckeyes by 21, so I'm going to lay the 18 with the Buckeyes. SC Wesleyan and SC Upstate. App State and South Carolina State. I project SC State as a 13.5-point underdog, and I project App State to be 15.5-point favorite. So, slight edge on Appalachian State here. I'm going to lay the 13.5 with App State. Like right now, it's looking like a lot of favorites. Old Dominion and Maryland. Maryland is only favored in this game by 8. I project Maryland in this game by 3, so I have to take Old Dominion getting the points. And I thought this spread would be a lot bigger. Next up is Akron against Middle Tennessee. I project in this game... Ooh, this line's not up. That's very odd. No odds for this game yet. I project, by the way, Middle Tennessee... I'm sorry, Middle Tennessee getting 4. I have them as an underdog here in this game against Akron. I expect Akron to win, but like I said, I don't have a total or a side for this game. And ESPN's not providing it to me either. Fairfield and Providence. I project Providence to be 24.5, and it's 19.5. I'm going to lay the 19.5 with Providence. Next up is Memphis and St. Mary's, one of my favorite games of the early window. I project St. Mary's by 7.5, and Memphis is favored by 7.5. I love St. Mary's. Oh my God, do I love St. Mary's. I'm taking them to win outright. Plus 275 on the money line. Memphis lost a lot of dudes. I like the St. Mary's team. I love Randy Bennett. Like, Penny Hardaway, I don't think he's won a big non-conference game as the Memphis head coach yet. And I think this is a good opportunity for St. Mary's to make a statement. And I'm going to pick them here to win this game. And I think this could be a big game in determining who gets an at-large bid. That's crazy to say that on day one of the season. But here we are. I'm taking St. Mary's, getting the 7.5 plus 275 on the money line. Oh my God, I was so delighted to see that. Oh, ho, ho. Drake and Kansas State. Kansas State's favored by 5.5, and that's exactly what I have. So I have to go to the total, 132.5. I'm going to go with the over here. I just think that overs are safe plays early on. I think both these teams are going to be solid offensively and stinky defensively. So over 132.5 is going to be my play for Drake and Kansas State. Lamar in Houston, I have Houston favored by 28 as my projection, and reality is that Houston's favored by 22, so I'm going to lay the points with the Cougars here. Ole Miss, Central Arkansas canceled. Bellarmine and Chattanooga postponed. 3 o'clock as well, North Dakota State, Nevada. Nevada is a 3-point favorite. I project this as a pick'em. I'm going to take North Dakota State in the points. Will they win? I don't know. But I like them getting 3. Piedmont and the Citadel. No line, obviously. Toledo and Bradley. This is an interesting game. Bradley's favored by 3.5. I project this line to be a pick'em. I'm going to take Toledo in the 3.5. I like both these teams this year in their respective conferences. But I'm going to take Toledo and get in the 3 and a hook. Maybe Bradley wins, but Toledo covers. Alcorn State and UAB. Alcorn State is a 17.5-point underdog. That's what I project. UAB's favored by 20. I'm going to take Alcorn getting the points. I don't like it, but that's what my numbers say to do. Now we're in the 3:30 window. 4 o'clock, NC Central, number 5, Iowa. So Luka Garza making his season debut. I project Iowa as a 23-point favorite. And Iowa, and that line's not showing up on my screen, is favored by 25.5. So I have to take NC Central in the points. I don't like it. Bowling Green and Michigan on ESPN2. Michigan's number 25 in the country. I don't know why. I don't like Michigan that much this year. Michigan's a 14-point favorite. I project Michigan only by 3.5. I'm taking Bowling Green in the 14 to keep that game close. Culver, Stockton, and UMKC. UMass Lowell and San Francisco. I project the Dons by 14. And the Dons are favored by 14. We do not have a total yet in this game. I'm going to see if they have it. No, they do not. But gunpoint, who do I take against the spread? Probably San Francisco. Tusculum and Furman. Fairleigh Dickinson and Quinnipiac. I project Quinnipiac as a 20-point underdog. Meanwhile, I don't have this line up here on Sugar House because Fairleigh Dickinson's in New Jersey. Fairleigh Dickinson's a 1-point favorite, and I lay the points of Fairleigh Dickinson. They are better than Quinnipiac. UMBC against Georgetown. I have this as a pick-em. Meanwhile, Georgetown is a ridiculous 13-point favorite. I'm taking UMBC in the 13. I think this is a live dog here at UMBC. Do I think they'll actually win? No, but I think that this game will be super close, and I think Georgetown should be on notice. Delaware State against Wake Forest. I project Wake by 15, and it's 18.5. I'm going to take Delaware State and the points here. It's actually 19 on FanDuel. I like it better at 19, so I feel like I'm getting some value here at Delaware State. UNC Wilmington and Western Carolina. I project Western Carolina by 5.5. And Western Carolina is only 5. And it says 4.5 on ESPN, though. I'm going to look at a total 150.5. That's very high, but I like it because these two teams are high-scoring teams traditionally. The over's at minus 108, so I'm going to jump on the over in UNC Wilmington and Western Carolina. Oklahoma State and Texas Arlington. Obviously, Cade Cunningham's debut on ESPN. I project Oklahoma State as a 15.5 point favorite, and they're only favored by 9, so I'm going to lay the 9 with the Cowboys. Carver, Kennesaw State, Evansville, and Louisville. I project Louisville by 27 here, and they're favored by 21, so I'm going to lay the 21 with Louisville in this game. Here's an interesting game on ESPNU at 4:30, Western Kentucky and Northern Iowa. I project Northern Iowa as a 2-point favorite. Meanwhile, Western Kentucky is a favorite by 2.5. I think the wrong team's favorite here. I'm taking Northern Iowa plus the 2.5 and plus 120 on the money line to win outright. Gannon, Buffalo canceled. 5 o'clock, Simpson, San Jose State, Columbus State, Georgia. Austin Peay, Omaha. Austin Peay's favored by 6.5. I project Austin Peay as an 8.5 point favorite, so I'm going to lay the 6.5 with Austin Peay. Ohio and Chicago State. That is an interesting game. Ohio is favored by 20.5. I project Ohio by 21.5. I love the opportunity of betting against Chicago State, as you guys all know, and I'm certainly going to do so here. I'm laying the 20.5 with Ohio. I'd be really, really mad if Chicago State was the underdog here. I just think they're a joke of a program, personally. So I'm going to take Ohio minus the 20.5. Next up, UC Riverside and Pacific. Pacific is favored by 5.5. I project Pacific by 10, so I'm going to lay the 5.5 with Pacific. Idaho and Seattle was canceled. I guess that was a last-minute call. Jackson State, Arkansas State canceled. Utah Valley, Stanford canceled. 5:30 Eastern Kentucky and North Florida. Eastern Kentucky is a 2-point favorite. I project Eastern Kentucky by 14, so I'm going to lay the 2 with Eastern Kentucky. 6 o'clock, you have Morehead State against Kentucky. I project Kentucky by 25.5. Meanwhile, Kentucky is favored by 24, so it's a small edge, but I'm going to lay it with Kentucky because they're Kentucky and they have the best players on the court. Eastern Michigan and Michigan State. Obviously, Kentucky's 10th and Michigan State's 13th early on in the country. I project Michigan State by 28, and they're 21.5. So I'm going to lay the 21.5 with Sparty. Actually, I have 28.5 for Sparty, and that's on Big Ten Network. 6 o'clock, ACC Network, Charleston against number 16, North Carolina. North Carolina is favored by 17. I project the Tar Heels by 23, so I'm going to lay the 17 with the Tar Heels. Ball State, Northern Kentucky. I project Ball State's a 2-point favorite. And that's what I have as the projection, too. So I'm right on the nose there. The total's 134.5. Juice to the under at minus 112. I'm going to go over here. Normally the MAC teams are high scoring, although traditionally the Horizons are low scoring, but I'm going to go over 134.5. The juice is on the under, so I'm getting value here at the over at minus 108. William Jessup against Fresno State. Western Michigan against Butler. I project Butler to be favored in this game by 30.5. Meanwhile, Butler's only favored by 19, so I'm going to lay the points with Butler. Liberty against Purdue. I projected Purdue by 4.5. And in this game, I don't see a line yet. Actually, no, never mind. Purdue's favored by 9.5. So it's close to my projection. But I'm still going to lay it with Purdue here, as I have a 5-point edge. Actually, no. I'm going to take the points of Liberty. I have a 9-point edge on Liberty. That's my mistake. Whoops. So I'm taking an underdog for once. It feels like I'm taking all the favorites here. Coppin State against Marshall. I project Marshall by 21. And Marshall's favored by 20.5. Although ESPN says 25, which is very weird. I guess there was like a weird line movement here. So it's too close, like a half point off. But there's no total, so I'm just going to lay the 20.5 with Marshall. I have a half-point edge on Marshall, but I don't like that games I bet on where it's a half-point edge. But sometimes I have no choice, as you all know. Toccoa Falls, Wofford, Merchant Marine Army. 6:30, Oakwood, North Alabama. Obviously, Merchant 6:32. Cocker, South Carolina. Here we go. UC Irvine against Pepperdine. I project Pepperdine as a 4-point favorite. And Pepperdine is only favored by 1.5, so I'm going to lay the points with Pepperdine. Northwestern State against Texas Tech at 7 o'clock. 14th in the country is Texas Tech. I project Texas Tech by 27.5, and they're only... Wait a minute, is this right? Please tell me this is... Texas Tech is favored by 25. Meanwhile, ESPN had it at 4.5, which is stupid. Texas Tech is favored by 25. I have it 27.5, so I have a slight edge on Texas Tech, so I'm going to lay the points with the Red Raiders. South Dakota State against West Virginia. That game, for some reason, wasn't on my projections card. So I have to do this on the fly. I project the Mountaineers to be favored by 15.5. Meanwhile, West Virginia is only giving 9.5. I'm laying it with the Mountaineers. They're a much better team. I think they're going to be a big deal this year in the Big 12. And they're just a mean team. They know what to do. They have, I think, one of the more underrated coaches in the country in Bob Huggins. So I'm going to lay 9.5 with West Virginia. Next up, Arizona State against Rhode Island. I project Arizona State by 16.5. Meanwhile, Arizona State's only favored by 8. I'm laying it with Arizona State and Bob Hurley in that one. Next up is Sacred Heart against Rutgers. I project Rutgers 35.5, and Rutgers begins the year 24th in the country. They're favored by 24.5. So I'm going to lay the points here at Rutgers. By the way, Arizona State's 18, West Virginia's 15. Flagler against FIU. And obviously Flagler is not a Division I school. We get a rare conference game on opening night, Cal against Oregon State. I project Oregon State as a 2-point favorite, and now we're in... Oh, no, we're still in the 7 o'clock window. I thought this was the 7:30 game. My bad. Oregon State's favored by 2, so I got the line correct. Total's 136.5. I'm going to go under here. Normally conference games in the Pac-12 are somewhat low scoring. And I think that this will be a low scoring competitive game. I think Oregon State will win. But I'm going to go under 136.5 for the play here. Next up, Westmont and Cal State Northridge, Coastal Georgia and Jacksonville, Texas, Perm Basin and UTEP. I'll skip those games because obviously they're not Division I. Hofstra Monmouth. I project Hofstra by 7. Hofstra's only favored by 1.5. I'm laying it with Hofstra against Monmouth. Next up, Green Bay, Minnesota at 7 o'clock. I project Minnesota by 24. Meanwhile, Minnesota is giving 18.5, so I'm going to lay the 18.5 with Minnesota. North Carolina, Wesleyan, Elon, St. Andrews, VMI, we can skip. FAU and South Alabama on ESPN Plus. South Alabama's favored by 4.5. I project this as a pick'em, so give me Florida Atlantic plus the points. St. Francis, Pennsylvania against Pitt on the ACC network. Pitt in this game is favored by 15. I project Pitt only by a half point. I'm taking the points to St. Francis, Pennsylvania. I don't like Pitt at all. So give me St. Francis, Pennsylvania plus the points. Southeast Louisiana and Purdue Fort Wayne. Purdue Fort Wayne's favored by 9.5. I project it by 19, so I'm laying it with Purdue Fort Wayne. Mary Hard, Texas State, we can skip. High Point Davidson. I project Davidson by 26 points. Meanwhile, Davidson is favored by 18.5. I'm taking Davidson minus the points. Florida A&M and Florida Gulf Coast. I project Gulf Coast by 3.5, and it's 4.5. So I'm taking A&M plus the 4.5, but I don't love the pick. Next up is Idaho State and Santa Clara. I project Santa Clara by 31, and it's only 12.5. I'm laying it with Santa Clara. Next up is Oral Roberts against Missouri. I project Missouri by 11, and it's 13, so I'm taking Oral Roberts plus the points. UIC against Northern Illinois. I project Northern Illinois by 11, and it is Northern Illinois. Where is this game? It was on my screen, I thought. Northern Illinois against UIC. It's just not on my screen. According to ESPN, Northern Illinois by 2. I make it 11, so I'd lay the points with Northern Illinois. Next up, St. Peter's and St. John's. I project St. John's by 7.5. Meanwhile, St. John's is... That game's not even on here either. It's weird that Sugar House doesn't provide all these games. FanDuel normally does provide the games. And obviously FanDuel's down right now. So ESPN has St. John's by 10.5. I make it 7.5. I am going to take St. Peter's because I have a slight edge on them, but I do expect the Johnnies to win. Next up is SIU Edwardsville against St. Louis. I project St. Louis by 28. And St. Louis is favored by 24.5, so I'm going to lay it with St. Louis. Next up is Mississippi Valley State against Arkansas. Meanwhile, Northern Arizona, and Xavier, Louisiana were canceled. Now we're in the 7:30 window with Mississippi Valley State and Arkansas. I project Arkansas by a whopping 44.5 because I think Mississippi Valley State is just the worst team in the country. Arkansas favored by 36.5. I am laying it with Arkansas. 8 o'clock, Texas Rio Grande against Texas. Texas is favored by 19.5. I project Texas by 16.5. So I'm going to lay it with the Longhorns. CU, Harrodsburg, Lipscomb, Dallas Christian, Tarleton we can skip because they're two of those teams are not Division I opponents, the other two are. Charleston Southern against NC State. I project NC State by 18. Meanwhile, NC State is favored in this game by 10. So I'm going to lay it with NC State. Southern Utah against Loyola Marymount at 8 o'clock as well. Loyola Marymount's a 5-point favorite. I make it 1. I don't like this pick, but I'm going to take Southern Utah plus the points here. Sam Houston State and SMU. I project SMU by 16. SMU's favored by 18, so I'm taking Sam Houston State in the points. Tennessee Tech and Indiana on the Big Ten Network. I project Indiana by 15. Indiana's favored by 22, so I'm taking Tennessee Tech plus the points. Jacksonville State, Alabama. I project Bama by 14.5. Bama's 20.5, so I'm taking Jacksonville State plus the 20.5. Now we're getting a couple of dogs in a row. Number what? Next up, South Dakota and Colorado. I have Colorado projected by 11. Colorado is favored by 15.5. So I'm going to again take an underdog here with South Dakota. UTSA and Oklahoma. I project Oklahoma by 17.5. And Oklahoma is favored by 16.5. So 1-point edge on the Sooners. Houston Baptist against TCU. I project TCU to be favored in this game by a whopping 37.5. Meanwhile, TCU is favored by 28, so I'm laying the 28 with TCU. Fox Sports 1, Central Connecticut State against UConn, so UConn's Big East debut. I have UConn projected by 44.5. UConn's favored by 26, so I'm going to lay the 26 with the Huskies. Westminster State BYU at 8 o'clock. We can skip that one. Gardner-Webb Duke, Charlotte Tennessee, Colorado Christian Denver, Brescia Murray State, Indiana State, East Carolina all canceled or postponed due to COVID. Now we're in the 8:30 section. Clemson against Mississippi State. I project in this game Clemson by 6. Meanwhile, Clemson, that line is not on here yet. ESPN has Clemson 4.5. This game's on CBS Sports Network. I'm surprised that I'm close in this game. I thought that I'd get value on Clemson in terms of an underdog, but not as a favorite. So I have to bet on Clemson as a favorite. I don't like that at all. But you got to do what you got to do sometimes. So I'm going to lay it with Clemson. Texas A&M International and Texas A&M Corpus Christi, we can skip. 9 o'clock, Texas Southern and Washington State. I make this as a pick'em. Washington State's favored by 10, so I'm taking Texas Southern, the SWAC favorite, getting the points against Washington State. Grambling and Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon's a 12-point favorite. I make Grand Canyon 12.5. That's too close. And obviously, there's no total, so I am forced to lay it with Grand Canyon, even though it's a half-point differential for my projection and what the line really is. Adams State, Weber State, we can skip. Cal Baptist and USC. I project the Trojans by 19.5. Meanwhile, the Trojans are favored by 19. Yikes, it's another one. that it's a close call. Totals 144. The overs are slate. Value at minus 109. The unders minus 110. Tough call. I'm going to go over here. I think that SC will score all over Cal Baptist. I won't be shocked if SC gets to 80. And it's a Cal State. Maybe like, I can see this being like an 89 to 70 type of game, and that's well over 144. And USC, for some reason, is not ranked, which is weird. I thought they'd be ranked coming into the year. Georgia State against Georgia Tech. Obviously, now we're in the 9 o'clock window. Had I not mentioned that earlier. I project Georgia State actually as a half-point favorite over Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's a whopping 8-point favorite. I love Georgia State getting the 8. So I'm going to take it. And I think that Georgia Tech will lose a bye game to Georgia State. And as CBS's John Rothstein will say, an epitome to brutality. Epitome to brutality. Number 2, Baylor against number 18, Arizona State, canceled. Eastern Washington, number 20, Oregon, postponed. Detroit Mercy, Richmond, postponed. Next up, 9:30 ESPN, number 3, Villanova against Boston College. I project Villanova to be a 27-point favorite in this game, and they're only laying 14. I love Villanova tonight, laying the 14. I think they're going to lay the smackdown on Boston College tonight at Mohegan Sun. Next up, you have VCU and Utah State, which was canceled due to COVID. That sucks. Wait a second. I have VCU and Utah State written down. Whoops, but that game. But yeah, Utah State's not playing tonight. That sucks. That game got canceled. Montana State and UNLV. UNLV, I projected as a 15.5-point favorite. They're laying 12.5, so I'm going to lay it there with UNLV. Actually, Utah State and VCU are playing. That's my mistake. But yeah, that's my mistake. Utah State is playing VCU instead of Wichita State. I panicked there for a second because it says Wichita State, Utah State canceled. Meanwhile, VCU is playing Utah State. Utah State's favored by 4.5. I'd make it 9. I'm laying it with Utah State. And then Montana State, UNLV. I project UNLV by 15.5. And UNLV is giving 12.5. I'm laying it with UNLV. I think I mentioned that earlier. Eastern Illinois against Wisconsin. I have Wisconsin projected as a 17-point favorite. They're laying 19.5. I hate the pick, but I'm taking Eastern Illinois getting the points because I have a 2.5-point value on them. Next up, UC Davis and Nicholls State. I project Nicholls as a 5.5-point favorite, and UC Davis is giving 3. I'm taking Nicholls plus the 3. I think they win the game outright. They are plus 130 on the money line. So there's been like 3 games where I think the wrong team's favored, and there's been like 3 games where I've actually nailed the line. Next up, Arkansas Pine Bluff against Marquette. I have Marquette as a whopping 48-point favorite projected-wise. Marquette's favored by 30. I'm laying the 30 with Marquette in that one. Bethesda against Sacramento State. We can skip. UCLA and San Diego State. I project UCLA as a 7.5-point favorite. Meanwhile, UCLA is only laying 3.5. So I'm going to lay the 3.5 with the Bruins in this game. And then at 11 o'clock, you have Seattle against Portland. And this one I have Seattle as a 1.5-point choice over Portland. There's no line provided yet on ESPN or on any of the betting sites. So I just will say Seattle straight up. Portland State, Washington canceled due to COVID. Thanksgiving slate. There's a lot of TBDs depending on results. In the Gulf Coast Showcase and in the Space Coast Challenge. NC Central Southern's playing. Chicago State at number 8 Illinois. Delaware State at Longwood at 12 o'clock. Tennessee State Coppin State. Bradley Xavier. Bad Boys Crossover Classic TBD. Classic game 1:30 on Fox. This game's going to be on Fox. Kansas, Gonzaga. This is one where I have to make a projection here because it's a marquee game between two marquee teams. And in this game, I have projected as a pick'em. And as of right now, Gonzaga is giving 5.5, which is crazy. I'm surprised Gonzaga is actually favored because normally Vegas would make Kansas the favorite. I think Gonzaga will win the game, but I think Kansas covers the 5.5. So that's one of the lines that's out for tomorrow that I would like to throw out because that is just an awesome, awesome game. 2 o'clock, Nevada, Nebraska. Gulf Coast Showcase game at 2. LaSalle, St. John's. George Mason, Northeastern. Jackson State, Ole Miss canceled. 2:30 on ESPN, Bad Boys Crossover Classic. We don't know who. Ohio and NC-A&T at 3 o'clock. Toledo, Oakland. Towson, Stephen F. Austin canceled. 3:30 Towson, San Francisco. 4:30 Fox Sports 1, Auburn, St. Joe's. 5 o'clock is a Gulf Coast Showcase game. 5 o'clock also Howard, Belmont. Bad Boys, Movers. 5 o'clock on ESPN. Arkansas State, Central Arkansas canceled. 6 o'clock Northwest, Washington, Cal. 7 o'clock ESPN 2K Empire Classic. We don't know who yet. SIU, Edwardsville, LSU at 7. Charlotte, VCU canceled. 7:30 on ESPN 2. Bad Boys, Mowers Crossover Classic TBD. 8 o'clock Mississippi Valley State, North Texas. A couple other TBDs in the Gulf Coast Showcase. 9 o'clock ESPN 2K Empire Classic TBD. And New Orleans against BYU. But yeah, that is a lot of college basketball on what should be a fun opening night. And now we'll get to some Thanksgiving stuff. And we will start with college football. 2 games tomorrow on the college football slate for Thanksgiving. And obviously, we're going to do a show on Friday to preview the weekend in college basketball, college football, and in the NFL. So we got a very, very busy show coming to you on Friday morning. And that show will be posted very early on Friday morning, too. Colorado State against Air Force on Thanksgiving at 2 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. I project Air Force as a 2.5 or 3.5 point favorite in the total of 52. Meanwhile, Air Force is giving 5.5, and the total is 55. My pick for this game in my first of 20 of the Turkey 20 is under 55. I think that this will be a lower scoring game than people think. Air Force's defense is the key to this, so give me under 55 for my first of 20 of the Turkey 20. The second of 20 in the Turkey 20. You have New Mexico and Utah State, 7 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. I project Utah State as a slight 2.5 point favorite. Meanwhile, New Mexico is actually favored in this game by 6.5, and the total in this game is 51. Meanwhile, I project the total of this game at 49. So it's close. I'm going to take Utah State plus the 6.5 as the second Turkey 20 pick, and I think they'll win the game outright. Plus 175 on the money line. I think New Mexico is grossly overvalued here on the road. Even though Utah State has some turmoil, I'm going to take them plus the 6.5, and the juice is on Utah State at minus 112. And if this line can go higher, that'd be nice, but I doubt it because the juice is on Utah State. So I'm taking Utah State plus 6.5 as the second of the Turkey 20 plays for Thanksgiving. And now we'll move over to the NFL part of the Turkey 20. 3 games for you on Thanksgiving, as there is every year. And the first one is Texans-Lions. I project the Lions as a 1-point favorite and a total of 51. Meanwhile, the Texans are favored by 3 and the total is 51.5. I am going to take the Lions plus the 3 as my third Turkey 20 play. I think the Lions will win the game outright. They are plus 143 on the money line. I do not like this pick. Obviously, these two teams met on Thanksgiving 8 years ago when there was that debacle with Jim Schwartz and with the Texans, and J.J. Watt was involved too, and the former Texans coach Gary Kubiak was involved as well. An ugly scrub on the field on Thanksgiving in that 12:30 window. I remember the Texans came away with a big win en route to a division title in what was a very good game, and Jim Schwartz got all mad because of the refereeing and stuff and was fighting with people from the Texans. But give me the Lions plus the 3, and I think they win the game outright as a plus 143 underdog. Next up, you have the Washington Professional Football Team at the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys are 3-point favorites. Total is 45.5. Meanwhile, I project Washington actually as a half-point favorite. Total of 49. And oh, by the way, my Detroit projection will move if Kenny Galladay is unable to go. But that's the pick, assuming Galladay plays. But right now I have Washington favored by a half-point total of 49. I'm going to take, for my pick for this game, this is a very hard call, but I was going to take Washington plus the points, but instead I'm going to go with the total here, and I'm going to go with the over 45.5. I like what I saw from Dallas's offense last week. Granted, Minnesota's defense is not good. Washington's defense is not that good either. They were lucky because Joe Burrow got hurt last week, and the Giants actually played well and drove against them. And, well, the Giants are playing better, I get it, but still, the Giants have been one of the worst teams in football all season, and they were able to have success against Washington a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, Washington's defense, I think, is one of the more overrated units in the league, and obviously Dallas's defense stinks too, so I could see Washington being able to score some points on Dallas as well. So give me over 45.5, and I think Washington will actually win the game. They're plus 3. And they are on the money line plus 130. So podcast play over 45.5, but the straight up and ATS play Washington plus 3 and plus 130 on the money line. And last but not least, the Ravens against the Steelers. Let's just assume this game will be played. The Ravens have 9 COVID cases, 4 players and 5 coaches, or it might be the other way around. But it looks like, as of where things stand right now, this game will be played. The Steelers are 5-point favorites, and the total is 45. I project the Steelers by 5.5, total 44.5. So half-point differential on both the total and the spread. But gunpoint, I'm laying the 5 with the Steelers. I just have a lot of trust in Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers. The Ravens have COVID issues. Lamar Jackson and a night game on the road, I don't trust him. So I'm going to lay the 5 with the Steelers. And I kind of like the over as well, but I like the Steelers better. And I think this has a chance to be a double-digit win for Pittsburgh as they look to remain undefeated on the season. So again, the Turkey 20, the first 5 picks of Turkey 20. Colorado State getting 5.5. Or I'm sorry, no, the under in that game. I like Colorado State getting the points, but no, under 55 in Air Force and Colorado. Utah State plus 6.5. Lions plus 3. Washington Dallas over 45.5. And Steelers minus 5 are the first of my 5 Turkey 20 picks. And the rest of the 15 Turkey 20 picks will be unveiled on Friday's podcast. Now I want to do a quick NBA free agency update. And by the way, we have breaking news here that Troy Middle Tennessee canceled due to COVID. So that game obviously was not on the gambling card. So hey, Vegas knew. Free agency update. We have some mass extensions given out yesterday to Brandon Ingram and Bam Adebayo, both of them well-deserved. Ingram, obviously, the most improved player of the year in the NBA for the Pelicans. That was a well-deserved extension. Very affordable for the Pelicans. I think Ingram is a very good above-average player, borderline all-star talent. And he finally broke through this year with the Pelicans, and obviously was a big beneficiator to the injury to Zion Williamson from earlier in the year. And obviously I think Stan Van Gundy wants to build around Zion, and I think that he'll use Brandon Ingram as his second option there in New Orleans. So good extension for both sides. And Bam Adebayo obviously was one of the most improved players in the league this year. He deserved his contract extension with the Heat. He is one of the best 5 centers in the game, if not one of the best 3, certainly the best center in the Eastern Conference right now. So he deserved his contract extension as well. And obviously Miami, I think, really has their eyes on the 2021 free agency class with Giannis. So give me a thumbs up on the extension for Bam Adebayo as well. And the other big story last night, the Sacramento Kings failed to match Atlanta's offer sheet for Bojan Bogdanovic. 4 years, $72 million. So Bojan Bogdanovic to the Hawks. The Hawks, one of the big winners of the offseason. They get Bojan Bogdanovic, Danilo Gallinari, and Rajon Rondo as veteran presences for that team. And they have those 3, Trae Young and John Collins and Kevin Huerter and Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter. They have a ton of assets that they can go out and flip for somebody in a trade. And now the question is, who's that player? They could easily pull off a 3-for-1 deal with somebody, or even a 2-for-1 deal. And obviously they won't trade Gallo or Bojan yet. Maybe in February for that piece, but obviously not now, because those 2 players become tradable in December. Or I'm sorry, maybe January, because the season starts in December. But normally those contracts become tradable in December in any normal season. But probably January, February now this year. But wow, Atlanta. So Trae Young, Bojan Bogdanovic, Danilo Gallinari, I guess Kevin Huerter or DeAndre Hunter, and obviously John Collins as your crunch time lineup. That's just incredible. And then you have Tony Snell off the bench too. This team's really deep, and this team's, I can definitely see as a playoff team in the Eastern Conference for next season. Now I'm going to preview tomorrow night's episode of The Masked Singer. It's Group C that is going tomorrow night for those final 2 spots. In the Super 6, it's mushroom, broccoli, and jellyfish. Mushroom, last time we saw mushroom, talked about being in high school, like that was its clue, and there's a book, there's food. Black beetles were in the clue package, glasses, tiara. And they performed If I Could Turn Back Time by Cher. And I went with Isaac Slade of The Fray last time. And the magic lamp hint was a brain. Ken Jeong went with Donald Glover. Nicole Scherzinger went with Adam Lambert. And Wayne Brady went with Willow Smith or Jaden Smith. Broccoli. There was a car. There were Food Fellas, Copacabana. There was a 900, a stage, 6 o'clock a.m., 37265. Maybe that's the zip code. Pizza, carrot, cheese, so a ton of food. A guitar. He sang Hello by Hello Richie. The magic lamp paint was a roulette. And my guess as of right now is Joe Teshi, but I don't feel good about it. Ken Jeong went with Martin Short, and Jenny McCarthy went with Jason Alexander. And then the jellyfish, there was like an under the sea hint. There was a big bird, a candle, 720. I don't know what that is, a triangle. Papa J, so it refers to her father. There's a bed in there, a candle. And the song she performed was Crazy by Pasty Klein. The magic lamp was a tiger. I'm going to go with Joey King here of the Kissing Booth. I feel pretty good about it. The magic lamp hint was a tiger. That could be referring to Tiger King, which is on Netflix. Obviously, Kissing Booth, Netflix, so that may be the Netflix tie there. Triangle, so love triangle. Obviously, the two boys in the second movie. Jacob Elordi, obviously her boyfriend throughout the two films. And Taylor Zakar Perez, who I actually kind of thought had a shot to be the puppet. I forget what the name of that character was that Mark Sanchez was. The baby alien. The baby alien sounded a lot like Taylor Zakar Perez of the Kissing Booth. And maybe it's referring to that. And it's funny because Ken Jeong went with Lana Condor, who is the main character, Lara Jean, in To All the Boys I've Ever Loved. And there's a sequel to that movie as well. And she's in a love triangle in the second movie as well. So, and Tiger King could be referring to the Netflix five for Lana Condor as well. So, I'm going to go with Joey King. It feels like it's Joey King to me, because this is something she would do, although I won't be shocked if it's Lana Condor. Robin Thicke went with Sophia Richie, and Wayne Brady was the guest judge, obviously, from a couple weeks ago. And he went with Jamie Lynn Spears and Halle Bailey. And obviously the last time we saw this group, Squiggly Monster, went home, and it was Bob Saget. The contestant I think goes home tomorrow night will be Broccoli, but I have no idea who it is. But I'm going to say, as of now, Joe Teshi, but I don't feel super about it. That is the contestant I feel the least good about of the three remaining in Group C. And I think Mushroom and Jellyfish will join Seahorse, Crocodile, Sun, and Popcorn in the Super 6. So there will be 4 females and 2 males in the Super 6. It feels like all males got voted off so far this season. And it's funny because a lot of the females went home early last year, and then a female wound up winning the show last year in Candy Burris with the Night Angels. So should be a fun episode of Masked Singer tomorrow. It's obviously going to be on at the same time as the Steeler game. And then obviously I Can See Your Voice will be on after Masked Singer tomorrow night. Last but not least, my best bet of the day brought to you by Sugar House. I'm going with St. Mary's against Memphis as my first college basketball best bet of 2020, or of the 2020-2021 season. Wrong team's favored. I love St. Mary's. I'm going to bet them on the money line too at plus 275. And that game is on at 2 o'clock. Oh, the line went down to 6.5, but I still love it though. I'm going to take the points of St. Mary's. I think they win the game outright. and their money line now is plus 235 rather than plus 275. So that's it for a long podcast today. Friday is going to be a long show as well, recapping college basketball, college football, and the NFL from today and tomorrow respectively, and looking ahead to the weekend and everything. We'll recap the Masked Singer as well, and obviously we'll have Best Bet and then the rest of the Turkey 20 for you as well after doing the first 5 of the Turkey 20 today. Hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.